Welcome back, good to see y'all again. If you're not familiar, this is my 8x22 tri-tune barrel boat hull with an 8x12 cabin. It's a tiny houseboat. I get asked pretty often, mostly in person, if I'm happy with Poormans fiberglass and the way I covered it and the performance. It's been on here for a few months. I get told all the time it looks great, you know, how you make it look so good. Well, in my opinion, it doesn't look that good. The flaws you see is in the plywood itself. I did use a wood filler, but apparently I didn't get everything. Up there you can see a delamination in my plywood, because after I done the Poormans fiberglass, my inside was bare wood and we get a lot of humidity. The plywood started buckling from the inside and couldn't control every buckle. That wasn't here until months after. But overall, it came out good. Right here, I have a delamination where the canvas isn't bonded, but right here is a plywood gap. This sheet was like a 16th inch thicker by spots than this sheet was. So I used some, I didn't use wood filler, which maybe I should have. I used some cheap drywall filler, just some, to put a glaze on it to kind of even it and sand it, and that's what I used. I think that delaminated from the plywood. I think she's looking good. Would I do Poormans fiberglass again? Definitely. I would plan it better. There's a lot more work than what it looks like. For instance, there's a 12-foot wall. I've done the entire, I think 7.5 foot by 12 foot in one run, which is very difficult to do with one person. I imagine it'd be difficult with two, because you have to spread the glue and drop the canvas, pull it tight, work all your wrinkles, and by the time you get 3 feet over to lay more glue, this glue is forming a skin and starting to dry. So it was very difficult to keep it going. I would do it again. I'm very happy with the results. It's been on here a few months. So far I haven't had any water issues. I did have water bleeding through my sidewall. My bottom floor plate, water was getting underneath. It would pull up on the deck. I went up drilling a hole, let the water drain. I came back with trim pieces and Dynaflex. I've got those issues solved. This thing sat here in the rain for about 3 months with the Poormans fiberglass on, nothing on the interior. Again, moisture, humidity's high in southeast Louisiana, so the plywood started buckling. So I had to take care of some buckles in the wall without drilling holes and screwing on the outside. So I managed to get all that done, and I spray foamed the inside, which is this right here, for strength. Got about 1 inch to 1.5 inches on the walls, and a good 2 inches, 1.5 inches to 2 inches on the ceiling. She's insulated pretty well. Let's go see the roof. Haven't been on the roof in a while. See if I can fall off and catch that on camera for y'all. Yeah, the roof is good. She's solid, she's walkable. She's been sitting under this oak tree for quite a few months. I do have some delaminations in my plywood. I can't change it. I mean, I should have chosen better plywood or less humidity to build. You can see, I'm sure it's coming up on camera, I got about 5 or 6 runs right there with a bubble as the veneer of the plywood separated. Can't change it now. Just gonna have to live with it if it continues to grow. And I guess at that point I can cut a slit out, section an 1/8 inch sliver out of it, pour in a bunch of Titebond 3, secure it down till it dries, and come back and put a coating over the slits. The roof is very solid, it's walkable. I believe the roof is 8 or 7 foot 10 by 18 foot. Pretty good sized roof. With any boat you build or structure, you're always concerned about leaks, water getting through. I've got no worries about the roof. We had quite a few good storms poured through, and a couple of days of all day heavy pour down rain. She was dry on the inside, with the exception of leaking under my wall plates, which I've solved. But yes, would I recommend Poormans fiberglass? Yes, I would. The materials to do the Poormans fiberglass on this 8x12 cabin, I believe it was about $500 a cost to buy 4 gallons of Tight Bond 3 at 40 something dollars a gallon. I believe I bought 7 or 8 9x12 drop cloths from Harbor Freight, and you can see I still got unfinished canvas here. I did wrap it around, overlapped all my seams. As you can see, a sloppy seam here. Everything's overlapped. I started from the front, walked it to the back, and I wrapped it in the rear corner. I had a Poormans fiberglass door, but it wound up swelling up on me. It's treated wood, and I had trouble opening the door, so I built a whole new door from scratch. But the video is not about this door. It's becoming AC. Work is continuing. After months of letting this thing sit in the rain, and I was confident I had no leaks, that's when I decided to go ahead and spray the foam. Foam added so much structure and strength, and insulation value is pretty hard to beat. And like I said, once I had no leaks, I could start on interior. This is mahogany ply, birch on the ceiling. None of these plies are waterproof. Like some mahogany, we call it Luan down here. Lumberyards call it mahogany. There's the information tag. It's cheap. It's about $28 a sheet. 4 years ago it was $13 a sheet, and now it's $28 for the same product. You know, thank you, COVID. But yeah, that's what I use to sheet the inside. One side is a lighter color, and you can see on the walls. The finished side, there used to be a sticker on it saying that the darker side was the finished side. Look, I have a mess up here. I'll showcase that. That's gonna be an easy fix. Anyway, today I was reseating all the windows. See, I rough cut just to get my window openings, and now I'm coming back and doing the final trimming, putting the frames. And if you're not familiar with camper windows, I mentioned in another video, you can't just leave an open gap right here. If you do, when you tighten the screws, it bends this frame, and then it will get to a point where you won't be able to get all the screws in, and the frame will be bent and pulled off from the wall. The proper way to do it, I have to add spacer blocks to spread the load. It's designed for this trim ring to be pushing against the frame of the window. Camper windows are designed for 1.5 inch thick walls. Like my door, for instance, is 1.5 inch thick. Now this is the same window that's on my 2 front walls. You see the difference on the 1.5 inch door? The frame is flush against the window, which is about to not be, because when I sheet my door, it's going to add 3/16 gap. So I'm about to shim the whole way around, like I've done with these windows, all the way around. And then I'm going to have to come back with some trim piece of wood or something to hide these blocks, and I may go ahead and hide the screws as well. But that's what my main focus for today is. And I'm going to be starting the bathroom wall and the counter. But first is getting all the windows fit properly, and then I'm going to decide on paint or stain. If I do stain, I have to get rid of all my pencil marks, which is cool thing about mahogany ply. It has some grains that already looks like pencil marks in it, so I don't have to focus too hard on my pencil marks. But yeah, this video is talking about the Poormans fiberglass. I'm very happy with it. I would recommend it. I would do it again. I don't know if I'd do it by myself. It was very difficult and it's stressful, because if you mess it up halfway through the process, once that glue starts setting, I mean, it's a done deal. I mean, what you have is what you have, and if you cut a piece off, then you got to deal with trying to cover over it and try to make it look presentable and pretty. Which I try to lay my gaps where I can hide all of my gaps, with the exception of the one in the front wall you saw. The ones on the sides getting covered with a wooden trim panel, so you won't see those gaps. And I do have another mess up in this corner on the outside. That one I can't hide. I mean, that one's just gonna be there. I'll show you what I mean. You see, messed up on a piece and had to cut another one and section it on. That's forever gonna be visible. Maybe I can find some way to hide it, but it's not really a concern of mine right now. The paint I took to cover this and make this waterproof. That was unexpected, the amount of paint it took. Initially, I put 3 coats on the roof and thought 3 coats would have been plenty. First coat, all the way around, I thinned it with 25% water. I used a water-based Glidden. It's called a Bone and Fence paint. It's a very tough, durable paint, and it just happened to be cheap. I caught it on sale, $20 a gallon. Originally I bought 4 gallons. You can't go by the square footage coverage that's listed on the can because you're soaking in the fabric. You're going to lose a lot of square footage. So I calculated 125 square feet per gallon, and I believe I had 400 square feet of surface. So about 4 gallons. As I was saying, I thinned the first coat with 25% water so it could soak up, and it was messy. But not as messy as with some videos. People do 50% water. That's a real mess. You're basically trying to lay water on there, and it's just raining down on you as you're raising your roller up to it. I rolled almost every coat. First coat, 25% water. I let it dry. I came back 3 hours later, and I put a second coat of straight paint on the roof and the sides, and then I put a third coat on the roof. I thought that would have been enough coverage. I felt it by hand. It felt like it was saturated enough in paint. I didn't feel any more fuzzy balls from the canvas. So I called it good, and I let this project sit for about 2 months. You know, in the weather, see if it would rain, what it would do, and nothing came through. I was very happy with it, but on the outside of my upper walls, on both sides, I could see mold growing. Mold, you know, on the side of a building, if you have a short roof and the rain runs down, you'll see mold start to form. That's what this was doing. So I thought it was just surface mold. I went to brush it off, and it wasn't coming off that easy. That told me the water was staying soaked in the outer layer of canvas, which could have contributed to some of my buckles. It was holding water, and I didn't know it. So we lucked out. We had 2 weeks of sunshine. I let this thing dry real good, and then I came back with a airless paint sprayer, and I wound up buying some more paint because I used those 4 gallons to do the 3 coats on the roof and 2 coats on the outside. And remember, the first coat was thin with water, 25%. That took me 4 gallons to cover this, and each gallon of paint's about 6 pounds. So every gallon I put on here is adding weight. I mean, you need to think of the aspect of weight when you're trying to build light. I wound up coming back with an airless sprayer, and I sprayed 3 more coats over the entire outside. It took me 6 hours of prepping, cover all these windows up, because I already had all the windows installed, and cover my porch up because, you know, I didn't want to paint my railings. I want to leave my railings wood, and I'm not worried about the deck or the lower sides, the blue portion of the hall. That's gonna get repainted. But yeah, I got it painted, and I was happy with it, and we've had 3 good rainstorms since then. No more mold growing on the side of the boat. I'm confident my canvas is 100% saturated, and once I was confident with that, I sealed up my water leaks, because I kept having, when it rained, my bottom wall plate, I could see water was wicking up, and I have a little bit of water that will put up on the floor right here. That's because rainwater, the way I have it blocked up, it can't drain off the sides of the boat. It would just pool up and kind of stay in the middle, and it would slowly bleed into the wall plate. I took care of that. So once I was confident, I was 100% sealed up. I put my floor insulation in, I put my flooring in, and you know, the spray foam, and the walls, and now it's time for all the finish work. But as stated, this video is about the Poormans Fiberglass. Am I happy with it? Yes. Would I do it again? Yes. I would just plan accordingly, and try to have an extra person here with me. One thing I noticed about the Poormans Fiberglass when doing it if the wind is blowing, even a 1 mile per hour breeze, it forms a skin on your glue right after you lay it down. So you've only got about 2 minutes to work a section that you've laid down. So whatever you can lay down 2 minutes, you need to start spreading canvas. What I was doing was coating the whole wall with glue, and then coming back, I tied a rope. I had a rope offset 2 foot on the outside of the boat, and I had my canvas tacked down to the roof with a staple gun, and then I threw my canvas over the rope and I worked under that canvas to roll. And then I just untie my rope on one end, it would drop the canvas, and I just pull it tight and spread it. I had plenty of spots that I had to lift back up and reapply glue because it was the glue was forming a skin and not being tacky before I could finish the work. So just plan accordingly. Having a couple people would probably be awesome and would have made this job prettier and easier. I'm not saying my job's ugly by any means, but it's not as pretty as it could have been. It is my first time doing Poormans fiberglass, and it probably won't be my last. I think the next houseboat I build, I may build a little lighter, thinner walls using foam. A thin poplar structure, like my door is poplar. The stripping is very light. It's expensive. It's $12 for an 8-foot piece. I think it's 3/4 by 1.5 inches. I think I'm gonna go with that method for my next set of walls with some 1.5 inch thick foam board. So I'll probably just take the foam board and notch out where my studs fits in the foam board and make a whole wall assembly, and then Poormans fiberglass it. It'll be overall a lot lighter structure. But yeah, I'm still happy with what I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'm not a pro at Poormans fiberglass, so I suggest you watch as many videos as you can find that explain Poormans fiberglass, what it is, and tips, tricks, how to do it. That's what I did. I watched a lot of videos and I still wasn't completely confident I could pull it off, but I tried anyway because you don't know until you try, and mine turned out alright. See y'all on the next one. If you have any questions or comments, lay them down. Thank you.